Hi, everyone. I am so excited because I am speaking with author Robert Dugoni again. And I think it's like third or fourth time. I don't even remember. But hold your book up. We are talking about his brand new book, The World Played Chess. And I love this cover. I cannot wait to see it. Like I'm looking at it on my screen, but seeing it like that, I can't wait to get my hands on it. It is so beautiful. Did you have
Thank
did they come to you about that cover?
They always come to me
Good.
and they always come up with a better idea. I had come up with an idea of having a chessboard with military pieces as the chess players.
Hmm.
And they came up with this. And it's really I think it's a much better cover because it's more of a personal story.
Oh, yeah.
It's not, and it wasn't it's not a strategic story, which is kind of what that implies. It's really a personal story. So they do a great job for me, and I'm always really pleased with the covers.
Well, when I started reading this book, first of all, the beginning is just incredible. I love the prologue. Reread it again today to remind myself how much I love the beginning. But I get kind of emotional about Vietnam because I'm like you. I was born in 64. Don't remember much of it, but my dad got out of the war twice. Once when I was born, and then again when my brother was born. All of his friends went. He was that age. He's 20 years older than me. I mean, I remember the guys that came back. I remember the guys that didn't come back. It
Yeah.
was a very big part of my life, even though the war itself I is fuzzy. I just more of a personal story. But then again, and I don't think you know this, but I'm a military mom. My son served in
Mm.
the Marine Corps, and I have a son in the Army that served during Iraq. They're vets now.
Wow.
So I have to tell you, and I tell everybody out there, it was really emotional for me, even though it was Vietnam. It's so relatable
Yeah.
to today. Well, and today,
Yeah. What's going on, really?
and what's
Yeah. No,
going on
absolutely.
today. So as I'm reading it and living it, their stories, it took me back to when my sons were in, and I never slept the whole time, and then again for what we're going through today, because this is just an ongoing American story. So I think everybody is going to just connect with this book. I just want to thank you for that because it
Well,
was.
thank you, and I hope you're right. From your lips to God's ears, right? It would certainly be great, and I think it is sort of a universal story of for everyone. Whether you served in the military or didn't, it's a universal story of overcoming hardships and having your reality shattered when you reach a certain age, which happens to all of us. I think where I grew up in a bubble, and then you suddenly realize that people didn't grow up in that same bubble, and people didn't have the luxuries that you might have had, or just the luxury of not having to go to war, the luxury of being able to attend college, little things that you really don't start to appreciate until you get older and you start talking to other people. And that's really what the story is about. It happened to me, the summer of my high school year, where I got on a construction crew with two Vietnam veterans. And I'm like my dad served in the Korean War, but he never served in the Vietnam War. But it was always a fascination to me. It was always something, I'd see it on TV, and I was a big USA guy, and I couldn't understand, how are we losing?
Right.
We don't lose wars. We're the good guys. We win World War I, we won World War II. We're the good guys. What's going on here? And the world really changed for a lot of people of our generation.
Yeah. And you know what? I really haven't read many books about. I've read, as I'm reading this, I'm realizing there aren't that many books out there, historical fiction or otherwise, about Vietnam. I mean, I know if I dug, but I'm just saying, like out there, like yours, like pop
Mm-hmm.
historical fiction. And that was another thing. So I saw at the end of your book the movies that you had watched, which I'd seen every single one of them.
Yeah.
Some of them I'll never watch again because I can't, because they're too
Yeah.
painful. Yeah, that's right. I've watched movies. We've seen movies, but books, not so much. You kind of go to World War II. It's really popular, and then like Korean, like you just after that, it's like it's almost becoming now historical fiction in a weird way, right?
We didn't even know what PTSD was back then. These poor guys came home, and everybody just thought, well, it's like World War I or World War II. They're just going to assimilate back into society, and we're all going to go off on our merry way. And we have such a better education now, and a better understanding of what a lot of these veterans, men and women, went through. And really what I tried to do was create a story that's really not so much about Vietnam, but it's a story of, it's a coming of age story. It's a story of growing up and coming to realize that the world is a much bigger place than you might believe it is, and that there is, you know, so many things out there that, you know, again, it's a story I think that's universal, because we all go through it on one level or another. We all go through it,
Yeah.
and we all realize, you know, we're not growing up in Oz, you know, we're really not.
I think part of it is because Vietnam, it wasn't a victory. And so when the guys came home, they weren't celebrated. They were vilified. I mean, because the country wasn't really standing behind them, which when you look back, like, wasn't that just so sad to see that they didn't get that applause coming home?
Yeah. I mean, it was really the first media war, where we embedded media and reporters and photographers. And really, that's what this story, the backstory of William is about. He was an embedded Marine photographer, and he took all these fabulous pictures that, you know, were never going to get published in an American newspaper, because that's not what they wanted to publicize. But it was a story that every night, you know, Walter Cronkite would be on the news, and they would be talking about what happened in Vietnam that day and the number of casualties they had. We never had access to that in World War I and World War II. I'm sure there were, you know, just as horrifying circumstances and situations that happened back then, but we didn't have that immediate access to it. And you mentioned it, alluded to it a little bit earlier, the access that we have to things that, like what's happening in Afghanistan. I mean, it's instantaneous now that we get this news about these servicemen being blown up, and it's outrageous to us that we have been placed, we place these men and women that have, you know, devoted their lives to protecting us and protecting our country. We place them in a situation of immediate danger. And it's sad. I think it saddens everybody.
And, you know, is the first war that I remember. Well, I mean, not that I remember, but that they did do those tickers, you know, and then of course, again, when we went up, you know, went into Iraq and Afghanistan and stuff. But I do remember that as a little kid and seeing those numbers and being like, you know, wow, that's a lot of numbers. Like, that's high. Day, you know?
You know, you go to the Vietnam Memorial and you just run your hands across those names, and you have to remind yourself that every name is a person.
Because
I mean, that's a real person, and there's so many of them. So many.
And I went on, I mean, I don't read reviews when I go into a book. I always want to read it for myself. And then that day I'll read it. After I finish it, I'll read. And Goodreads, I mean, these people are loving you. And I am so happy. I wrote my favorite line down right away. And then I go on there, and sometimes I like the fact that everybody else likes it. And then sometimes I'm like, I'm not original. But I'm going to give you the favorite line that everybody agrees with me. It's because it's in the very beginning of the book. And I know you know what I'm talking about, but it says, every minute of every day is a gift, and growing old is a privilege, not a right. And as I was reading it in the beginning, it touched me, because as we get older, and then COVID, I mean, seriously, we've been through in the last year and a half, almost, you know, getting closer to 2 years all the time. It is a privilege. Like, just here every day, I've never been more grateful every day to wake up healthy and my family healthy, you know, like.
No, I lost a good friend last year to just a freak heart attack, a widow, you know, one of those widow makers. I mean, just one day he was there, and on Easter Sunday he was gone, and that was it. And, you know, he was younger than I am. I lost a good friend of mine, 42 years old, Eddie Vendetti, my buddy. He died his heart exploded at 42 years of age, and he dropped dead. I never got to say even goodbye to him. And so you do start to realize it. You know, my sister has a great quote when people are complaining about their aches and their pains and my knees and my hips and my back and she says, well, be thankful that you have those pains, because the alternative is worse.
Exactly.
You know? And I think that's also really a true statement that, you know, we're blessed to be able to grow old. A lot of people don't get that opportunity. I tell people all the time, you know, I feel like I already won the lottery. You know, I was born in a country where I'm free. I can practice the religion I want to practice. I have free speech. I have the ability to make an income to take care of my family. I won the lottery. And there's so many people in the world that did not win the lottery and are suffering. You know, it's a privilege to get up every morning and be able to come to my computer and do what I love to do for a living. And I never lose sight of that fact. I really don't.
And when you say that, I smile, because seriously, I mean, I loved the Tracy Crosswhite. I loved all of those books. Okay. and I've read them. I think I've read almost every book you've written. Then to go to The Extraordinary Life, which I told you off camera, I, to this day, when somebody says, and I read all the time, that is in my top three.
Wow, thank you.
You have to read this book. That book touched me like so deeply. And now this one again. So when you keep writing, that just makes me happy because it's just another one to add to. Did you read this book? Like it's, and I see people saying that too. I'm not the only person, and it makes me so, so happy for you. And this book is going to do amazing things. I can't wait till the release date. I will be on social media plugging it away, you know, just rooting for you because I want you to keep writing.
Well, I'll keep writing. I guarantee you that.
Do you want to give us, before I let you go, any little updates on what's coming up next that you can like give us a teaser about?
Yeah, sure. No. So, you know, you mentioned COVID, and the short of the long story is, right, I couldn't go anywhere. I couldn't travel. I couldn't do anything. You know, like most people, I was confined to my home, but the beauty I had was I was confined to my desk. So I really accomplished a lot. So, you know, the eighth Tracy book came out in April. This book will be out in September. The next book in the Charles Jenkins espionage series called The Silent Sisters will be out in I think November, if I'm correct. A short story on Vic Fazio and Del Castigliano in the Tracy Crosswise series will be coming out on the Amazon Shorts. And then the ninth book in the Tracy Crosswise series, What She Found, that one's coming out in November. The Last Sister's coming out in February of 2022. What She Found is coming out in November of 2021. And the last line, the short story, is coming out right before that in October. So a lot of really great things coming up.
I was going to say, because I remember The Eighth Sister. You know, I just read that, you know, when that came out, and I was going to say, are you writing a ninth? And you are. So
yeah, that'll be the third in the series, and then we'll see where it goes from there.
Yeah, well, I am so happy that I've been able to talk to you again. Hold up that cover one more time for everyone. This book comes out September 14th, which is getting closer every day. So I'm so excited. I can't wait to see what it does, and then hopefully we'll get to talk again when the others come out.
I would love to do that. Thanks very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.